Hello and welcome to Impulse, Strength and Conditioning. This is a short and informative video on plyometric training. To start with, you may want to know what exactly plyometric training is. So, what exactly is it? Plyometric training is a form of explosive physical training that was first recognized during the 1960s Summer Olympic Games, when Russia began to produce superior athletes in track and field, gymnastics and weightlifting. Yuri Verkhoshansky recognized Russia's success by the inclusion of experiments with jump training to increase their reactive ability and neuromuscular activity. Plyometric training can be characterized by the rapid stretching of a muscle simultaneously with a rapid shortening of the same muscle. It is this eccentric concentric contraction that allows the muscle to store more elastic energy during the eccentric phase, to then be released in the concentric phase. The main goal of plyometric training is to minimize this time between these two contractions, which is also known as the amortization phase. This will be shown further afield in some plyometric training clips. Numerous research aids strength and conditioning coaches for the use of this type of training, mainly because it has major benefits in improving efficiency in the use of the stretch reflex, the neuromuscular mechanism, the stretch shortening cycle, which can be found in common movements such as running and jumping. Also, athletes participating in a sport which requires explosiveness and high power outputs, with sports such as volleyball, rugby, basketball, triple jump, football, just to name a few off of the list. This type of training also has the potential to decrease the risk of injuries because of the increase gained in muscle and tendon strength on targeted joint areas such as the ankle and knee joints. Plyometric training is widely reported with academic research among many varying sports. To get to grips with the positive attributes of plyometric training, here are some recent previous studies which have shown significant performance gains. Kobach and partners found recently in 2015 improvements from pre to post vertical jump heights from 19 inches up to 22 inches over an 8-week training period. This is exactly an increase of 15.79%. Arazi and partners found in 2012 that 18 young semi-professional basketball players increased vertical jumping by as much as 30.45% using both legs and 6.57% using one leg, which is also known as single leg jumps. This was also over an 8-week training duration. Gerardo Levinan and partners found an increase of 11 to 13% in counter movement jumping in untrained males over a longer period than the rest of 10 weeks. This information can tell you as the viewer that with the right prescription and coaching through reading of recently published methodologies for training, any athlete or anyone can reap the benefits from it. However, do make sure you read sufficiently to incorporate your own ideas of volume and loading for the need of your individual. For this next section, I'm going to show you one possible plyometric exercise with two progressions which can be used to help increase change of direction speed for any field-based invasion game. The example being used is for rugby, but of course a good strength and conditioning coach will be able to incorporate this similar exercise to any sport. It is important to notice that planting of the foot when these rugby players on the screen are about to avoid their opponents. This can be used as the first basis to start the exercise. You don't have to set anything up for this first phase, as it is a very simple exercise to begin with. The style of jump can be called ski jumps or single leg zigzag bounds. The athlete shouldn't focus on how far they can bound across from each leg, so it's important to get across to your athlete the speed at which they do the jump, remembering to quicken the amortization process. Another coaching point is to assess the individual's knee strength by seeing knee movement. If it is noticeable that the knee is unstable, you can regress this action by simply side-to-side ski jumps and taking the forward motion out of the exercise. This exercise can be progressed with the use of a box. The use of a box increases the loading of the eccentric phase, which ultimately will enhance the mechanical model. The elastic energy which is stored can then be used in the concentric phase or the takeoff phase. Bobbert and Cassius 2005 suggested that the stored elastic energy is important within the stretch shortening cycle for reducing metabolic costs of movement and not in fact increasing force production. Therefore, using this drop jump effect will ultimately demand less of an athlete and also create greater gains in efficiency of movement, as we know plyometric training can enhance explosiveness. The athlete should start on the box with feet shoulder width apart. After this, dropping down with the left foot, the athlete must jump to the right. The same principle for the opposite drop-off. Upon landing, the same principle is to be used, with the focus being on speed and minimal ground contact rather than how far the athlete can jump across. Ensure that the athlete lands stable on the opposite leg until resetting and going back to the box. A coach could also use a short sprint after landing to make this a sport-specific movement. If you as the coach or you as the athlete feels comfortable in your plyometric ability, then you could try this last progression out. The box height for dropping down can be increased, however optimum drop heights of 20 to 30 centimeters is advised, as any greater could deplete the elastic energy stored due to elongated ground contact. The athlete is to drop down with both feet. As they hit the floor, the athlete should then have in mind about already jumping from the ground. This is different to the usual drop jump onto a box, as this movement is a lateral movement, as you can see on the screen. Again, the box being jumped onto can be increased based on the individual's ability. The athlete must always keep their hips and shoulders facing forward. This is to reduce any unnecessary rotation. The athlete must step down safely from the box and then restart the process. Again, it is very important to focus on speed and reactiveness, as this will limit the time of the amortization phase. So to recap, coaching points for these exercises are: keep ground contact quick. You really want to utilize all of the elastic energy stored in that short space of time in the amortization phase, rather than losing that energy as heat. Keep hips and shoulders facing forward with every movement. You don't want any unnecessary rotation, reducing the concept of strengthening the muscles the leg used to pivot and move laterally from the ground. Ensure your athlete has sufficient knee stability. Any instabilities may be due to overloading or general weak structure of the leg, so it may be useful to regress these movements as shown in the first exercise. Always reset the athlete before doing the next jump. You want optimal performance even in the training to get maximal effect. Plus, rushing around could cause harm to them or others around them by insufficient technique. Thank you for watching this short video. I hope you've got some useful information as a coach or as an athlete to incorporate plyometric training into your weekly schedule.